we'll get started pretty much right now. So hi everyone, now that the recording started, I'll just reintroduce myself. My name is Nicole and I'm the campaigns coordinator at the CSU. If you're here, it's because you are here for our very exciting event today, which is the Black Entrepreneurs Panel. We'll be hearing from a bunch of local Black-owned businesses and entrepreneurs on various topics, so like how to get started, especially as a BIPOC entrepreneur, and you'll get to learn about like their businesses as well, and kind of how they're managing through COVID and a bunch of other interesting topics like that. So before we get started, I just want to, as usual, I mean, all of our events are virtual right now, but as usual, we definitely think it's important to acknowledge that all of our events, including this one, are taking place on unceded Indigenous lands. Specifically, we want to recognize the Kanien'kehá:ka Nation, which is historically the stewards of the lands and waters on which we are gathered today. So in the Tiohtià:ke area, which is colonially known as Montreal. So especially for those of us who are settlers on these lands, I think it's really important for us to think about what that kind of means to us and how we can do our part to give back to Indigenous nations and to fight colonialism, which is ongoing. We have at the campaigns department, we've started making this like resource document with action items for how to give back to Indigenous nations on our lands, well, on these lands, which are not ours. So I'll be sharing that in the chat. So if you'd like to take a look at it, there are plenty of action items, places to donate, ways to educate yourself. It's also a living document. So we'll be adding to it as more resources come up and as we learn about them. So we definitely think it's important to acknowledge that. Before I pass it off to Isaiah Joyner, who's going to be our moderator for this event, I will pass it off to Walter from the Legal Information Clinic. So the LIC actually has some resources that are relevant for new entrepreneurs. So Walter, you can go ahead.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Walter Chian Tong, and I'm the manager and supervising lawyer for the CSU Legal Information Clinic. So among the different services that we offer is to provide legal information for anyone thinking of starting up a business. In other words, one of the first questions that people come to us with is, I'm starting up a business. Do I need to incorporate? Should I incorporate? You know, what are the advantages and disadvantages? Other questions, okay? You know, I'm thinking of like renting a place. You know, what are the obligations of a commercial tenant? Because a commercial lease is much different than a residential lease. And these and many other questions, right? We're more than happy to take a look at. We can't give legal advice, but what we can do is accompany and empower the student before us to help them understand the documents that they have. And also as a side note as well, just to give you my own little bit expertise, I've been very much involved with social economy and questions of community economic development since the 90s. That dates me a bit. I used to sit on the selection committees of different organizations. I've worked with Youth Employment Services, Yes Montreal, and as well what is presently known as Montreal Inc. And at the time was the Fondation du Maire de Montréal pour la Jeunesse. So yeah, so in terms of like, you know, my experience as like an insight as a commercial lawyer and also helping to start up, you know, start up businesses and everything, we definitely, you know, can take a look at that. And obviously as well, the whole question of, you know, the systemic obstacles that exist for funding of BIPOC youth. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Walter. So definitely feel free to check out the LIC. I'll actually send a link to their website just so you guys can check that out. They have a Facebook page as well. So without further adu, let's get right into the panel. So I will introduce Isaiah Joyner, who's going to be our moderator. Isaiah is also our general coordinator right now at the CSU. So Isaiah, take it away.
Thank you for having me, Nicole, and thank you everyone for joining us today. It's like today we're going to have an interesting panel talking about a very important topic, all systemic racism's full in effect with the year that we're having. We have the annual campaign, which is Black Lives Matter. And so shedding light on a more positive aspect, it's like we brought 4 entrepreneurs here who are going to tell us about their, their experience, in starting their own businesses and like being their own bosses and being their own entrepreneurs. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the first speaker, which would be Kamina. You're on mute.
Yeah, exactly. I find the unmute button. Amazing. Thank you, Isaiah. So quickly, yeah, so I'm the owner of Urban Wrapper. I specialize in head wraps, as you can tell, but we also have like headbands and other head wraps that are more traditional, which is more contemporary. The brand is all about mixing more urban and traditional styles. And actually, quite recently, we're launching a velvet and satin collection. So things are expanding as well, but mostly focus on hair accessories for Black women and Black men. We see you, the do-rags are coming. So we're getting there.
All right. Thank you, Kamina. Apology.
Yeah, I had a little slideshow, like it takes like 2 seconds. Is it okay if I present?
Yeah. Share your screen if you have the ability to. Hey, it worked.
So can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Awesome. So the name of my business is called Self Beats, and my name is Apology. I'm an undergraduate at Concordia studying athletic therapy. I'm originally from Nigeria. And just a little bit about what we do. So our mission is to create affordable jewelries for men and women to help you stand out in whatever situation you find yourself and to actually help you enhance your personality. So jewelries that match who you are, what you feel is basically what we do. Just a little bit of products. Yeah, so I just want to show a little bit of what we do and how we can match your personality to whatever accessories or jewelry you want to wear. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. On to Samita.
Yes, thank you, Isaiah. So my name is Samita, and I founded Ayata Botanics. So what we do is make natural and zero waste products, cosmetic, and we really want to empower people to kind of switch to this minimalist routine, because actually solid cosmetics are really becoming popular because they're practical, they're light, affordable, eco-friendly, and they have a longer shelf life. So what we try to do is really like combine these practical aspects with also the powerful natural ingredients to create a product that is potent, efficient, and gentle on your skin and on the environment. So we really try to include our core values within the identity of the company and the products. So minimalist and eco-friendly and if possible, zero waste. So the products we have are solid shampoos and conditioners, as you can see here, and some bath bombs. We also have whipped body butter and balms. So yeah, that's Ayata Botanics.
All right. Thank you. And last but not least, Bilingwe.
Hi guys, how are you doing? My name is Bilingwe and I own a hair braiding business called By Bilingwe, self-named. And essentially what I do is I braid hair. I do all kinds of different hairstyles. I used to do men's hair as well, but now I just specialize in braiding women's hair. And I recently added the product sale to my business. So I sell braiding hair, hair growth oils, and different things to kind of expand my business. So yeah, that's what I do.
All right, thank you. I'm sad to hear that I won't be able to get my hair braided, but I'm sure you have businesses booming. But okay, so we're gonna get into some of the questions, and so I'll let you guys choose. Do you want me to go alphabetical or shift it up of who I start with, like each time?
I think you can randomize it.
Yeah.
Perfect. So I'm feeling like Samita, you're going to start us off by answering what motivated you to start your own business and why did you choose your product/service that you sell?
Okay, so actually, it's been a few years now that I was interested in creating my own products, and I started with small, simple things like lip balms. But then I started realizing like how many waste I was generating with the products that I had in my own house. So like shampoo bottles, conditioner, shower gel, toothpaste, etc. And I thought it was too much, and so I had to put an end to it and find a solution. So that's how I got into like formulating my own solid zero waste cosmetics, and I was actually very satisfied with the results. And when I started sharing it with my family, with my friends, I had really good feedback, and I thought that people really liked it. So I thought I could make it official and try and launch my business and share the passion with people around me.
All right, thank you, thank you. Abolucci, you're up. Do you want me to repeat the question or do you remember?
No, it's okay, guys. Well, for me, I've always had a thing for bracelets, so I've always had love for it. But then as time went on, I went for an interview once, and I was only wearing one earring because I forgot the other one, and I didn't even notice something was wrong until the interview was like, you know what, that was what made you stand out, because it was a fashion difference from what I've ever seen before. So things like that help you stand out. So my goal was to help people create jewelries that help them stand out in interviews, in a gathering. Things that just make you stand out among other people. So that's how I got started. I started making bracelets and necklaces, and we're hoping to expand into other form of jewelries from there.
Thank you, thank you. Bilingual.
All right, cool. So my story is a little bit longer, but basically, I'm an international student. I moved to Canada almost 3 years ago. It's not been 3 years yet. But when I first moved here, obviously as a Black woman, like braiding hair is like very key in our culture. But when I moved here, I realized it was super expensive to get my hair braided. So I was like, okay, like what am I going to do? So I went on YouTube and I started learning how to like braid my hair with rubber bands, and that's how I started learning how to do my own hair. And then my friend would ask me, hey, can you do my hair too? And I started doing her hair. And because she's a JMSB student, she would always be downtown, and she'd always tell me like people love my hair, like always asking me who does their hair. So fast, like 1 year after that, I just decided, okay, cool. Like it was 4 in the morning one day and I couldn't sleep, and I was like, screw it, I'll just start an Instagram page. And I've never looked back ever since then. Literally, it's been growing ever since, and I couldn't be more grateful. So yeah, that's how it started.
Business is booming. All right. And Kamina.
Yes, I love the 4 a.m. thing. I have a similar story, not at 4 a.m., but like a day that I just decided it would happen. But similar story in terms of it just coming from my own need. Like I was born here in Montreal, but I grew up in a predominantly white town in Peterborough, Ontario. And my mom and the rest of the community, no one knew what to do with my hair, including myself. And so it came from an own need to just take care of my own hair. And so I started having little twists and then wrapping my hair up. But of course, both there and even when I moved back to Montreal, it was hard to find the proper head wrap material and the size. And so actually I was fortunate enough to work in Benin for a bit, and absolutely fell in love with head wrapping and the art and the culture and the history behind it. And I was like, okay, there needs to be something like this in Montreal with, you know, the large population of Black women that are here. We can't just be going down to thrift shops and buying scarves and trying to like work with them, which is what I was doing at the time. And so the business kind of just grew from there. I started making my own head wraps, and then, you know, friends similarly were like, oh my gosh, where did you get this? Can I have one? And they'd ask for customs. And this is all, you know, going down in the DMs. And then, you know, one day, like Bilingue actually at a seed event, I decided just to launch it. And so I made a few extra and they sold super quick. And a few months later, I was at Haiti en Folie and was selling hundreds. And so the business just really expanded really quickly. And it was just because of the need and the demand as well. And so that's, yeah, how it started.
I see you're still succeeding. All right, that's good to know. So I think it was either Big Sean or Cardi B that once said you got to turn your L's into lessons, right? So in that spirit, it's like, what's the biggest lesson you've learned as an entrepreneur? And like anybody, it's like hindsight is 2020 or 2021 now. It's like, what's something that you would have liked to know before you started? And for this one, I'm gonna start with Bilingue.
Okay, this is a good question. So I think out of everyone here, I'm the only service-based business, meaning that I have to come in contact with people in order to carry on my business, right? So I was just braiding, like in my head, I'm just braiding, like there's nothing more, nothing less to it. I'm just, you come up, and I braid from home, or before I used to go to people's houses, but now I'm predominantly braid from home. You just come over to my crib, like it's really chill, watch Netflix, I braid your hair, you leave, like really chill vibes. But when COVID hit, that kind of switched up the game, and I didn't see that coming. So I feel like when you sit down and like, okay, cool, I want to start this business. But for me, it was really just a passion thing, hence why I didn't think about all these things prior to this. But just have a game plan, kind of like, okay, like what are other things I can do apart from just this, especially, and this is specifically for people that are just service based, like have a backup plan and other things that you can do alongside with your business.
Very, very true. Thank you for sharing. So on to Kamina, you're next.
Yeah, for me it was, well, I say like one of the things I struggle with is perfectionism, and Urban Rapper, like the ideas were kind of percolating since like 2016, although I launched it only about 2 years ago. And it was like those years in between, I was just like, oh, well, I need to have, the collection be huge and have all these different things, and have influencers set up for the first shoot and all these like big ideas I wanted. And so it just kind of paralyzed me in terms of like actually launching the business. And so for me, the biggest lesson I've learned is just like sometimes, the idea of perfection that you want isn't actually what you need to have like to be able to launch a business. Still being content and happy with, what you're doing, but not feeling like stuck or paralyzed by these big grandiose ideas. And even like building on that is the whole idea that like, for me, I thought things that were more personal meant less professional. Like I was like, oh, I don't want my face on my page. I don't want to be in the stories too much. I was like, I want, other models and other Montreal women there. And then people like the posts that are most liked, or people are like, I'm saying I'm speaking at this event, or, I tell a story about, my father and how it inspired one collection, or the new seamstresses we've hired, and we do some behind the scenes stuff. And those are the most popular and engaging stuff. And so I realized that people really do like that kind of personal aspect. It's actually one of the things that brings value to the business, is that you see the face behind it, and the labor and the love and the work and the hours that goes into every piece. So you're not just, getting a head wrap or getting some earrings or whatever, whatever it is, you're getting a piece of someone's work and labor, and you're contributing to that person's livelihood, and people like seeing who that person is. And so that was one of the biggest lessons that I learned.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. Samita.
Yeah, so thank you. Actually, I really relate to all of you. Like for me, the biggest lesson that I've learned is, well, I started a few months ago, like actually in November, and I realized it really takes a lot of consistent and persistent work. And that's actually the biggest thing that I've learned, that you cannot do everything at once, and you really have to take your time to expand the business, and you don't need to rush to make everything at the same time. And the only thing that is that you really shouldn't give up, basically, and keep up the work even though you feel like it's too much. And it's best to do like small things every day than to try to do everything and get overwhelmed. So like one thing for me was like when sales went down in January, I took this time to kind of develop new products, ideas, partnerships, and really like develop the backbone of the business. So I thought that that was really something I learned with time.
Okay, nice. And apology.
Yeah, I agree with Kamina and Tamita. I think like the biggest thing is you learn as you go. Like you have to leave room. I think in the beginning you come up with the expectation of, okay, so I have the talent, that's all you need. And then as you grow, you learn that you need the social media capacity. You have to be able to post, you have to be able to take pictures, you have to be able to work with other people. And those are skills you have to learn as you go. You don't just have them. I think that's one thing people starting businesses have to understand is a learning process, is a learning curve. I mean, you're gonna design something and then next week you realize, okay, it wasn't perfect. You have to do something else. I think for me, the biggest lesson is you have to work with the people around you. Try and get advice from people that have been in the game before you, or even just family, friends, and just talk. You have to speak to people. You have to speak out your ideas for you to be reality. So I think that's like my biggest thing, talking to people around me, and picking ideas from everyone around me.
All right, thank you, thank you. So similar to snowflakes, there's no two identical. Like the next question is going to be like, what makes your business unique? And so I'm going to start with Samita on that one.
Yeah, so actually, there's a lot of cosmetic options out there, and we all know that. But actually, what makes my business unique is that I can personalize each product according to each person's preferences, needs, skin condition, or hair condition. And I think being able to do that really makes the product relatable, and people want to have products specific for their needs. And also because the products are made with natural ingredients, they really provide like long-term solutions for skin or hair issues. And you can really witness the improvement over time. So I believe this is really what makes my business unique.
Nice, thank you, Samita. Apology.
I think what makes my business unique is the products that I sell. You will not find it on a random. You won't find it everywhere. It's not a common commodity. It's something that's very uniquely made for a specific amount of people. So my goal is to not like every product is sold to at least a maximum of 50 people. So you're 50 people wearing the same thing and not 100,000 people. So it's very unique to each set of people. It's kind of like, I'm the only one wearing it. So that's like what makes my business unique.
So just a quick follow-up, if I'm understanding, so you make exclusive products in the sense where it's like once you reach a certain capacity, like, oh, style's gone, on to the next style type of thing, and you don't bring it back.
Yeah.
Okay, that's got to get it while it's hot. All right, bilingual.
I think for my business, just the name on its own, being my name, is unique. is unique on its own. I feel like I'm one of the only people in this world that has that name, apart from like maybe one or two other girls in my village back in Cameroon. But apart from my name, I feel like I can honestly say I'm one of the few braiders in Montreal that uses like things like TikTok and Reels to kind of like make it a little bit fun. When I braid, I interact with my clients. We make TikToks. We literally just have fun because braiding can be a long process, but just like making it a full-rounded experience, I feel like that's what makes me unique and allows me to have a lot of returning customers and clients.
Nice. I'm gonna have to find you on TikTok after this. All right, and Kamina.
Yes, I was just gonna show these two ladies. Like Samita, I honestly I just bought a face cream and it's absolutely incredible. And I remember when she asked so what do you want in it? And I was like, I can choose this? Like what? And really, oh my gosh, I'm always resharing your stuff on Instagram. So it's along lines with all everyone said, basically that I can do custom orders. Often I do customs. I've done things for dogs, things for men, custom head wraps. I've done, head wraps made with everybody contributing from my Instagram profile. I've been like, hey, so what are we gonna make today? And people tell me the color and the style and all that. And so that's a really fun creative process that I think a larger company can't really afford to do. Also the fact that similar to what Awolaji said is that I have very specific amounts of certainly head wrap styles that come out. And so I'll do 6 to 10 of a style. And then that's kind of it for that style. And since we've started, I think I've had over 100 different head wraps designs out. And so it's, I guess, that big diversity and variety that allows people to really choose whatever head wrap, works best for them. And like Abdulaji said, there's 5 other women that maybe will be wearing it in all of Montreal. So yeah.
All right, thank you, Kamina. So I hope no one feels like I'm taking shots at them, but it is midterm season. And so it's we're all students. You guys managing businesses, you have social lives, you need time for mental health, you're doing your thing. How do you what techniques and or tools do you find to properly help manage your time and make sure that you stay on task? Because I'm between your grades, your work, and just your own well-being, that's a lot to manage, and especially in this climate. So I'm going to start with apology.
I mean, first thing, we have no social life, so that kind of gives you room to do other things. But seriously, but the biggest thing for me is my Google Calendar is my biggest friend right now. In the beginning, it was really hard. I can tell that. But right now I can't like put everything into schedules. Like there's a time slot for everything. But realistically, yeah, I'm not following 100%, but I'm able to see how much hours I want to put to each different task that I'm doing. So yeah, that's the way I've managed to kind of make it work a little bit. It's just scheduling everything into my Google Calendar. So that's my best friend.
Okay, nice. All right, bilingue. Spill the tea. Let's hear between the TikToks and the class.
I would honestly, just like Bolaji, I would say the same, right? I think having a calendar is one of the most important things. Now, for me specifically, because it's once again client based, I schedule my clients for the next month, the month before, meaning that I need to have my calendar for April ready in March. And which is what I'm working on right now. And essentially how I do it is I have my calendar, and before I make school my priority. So before I deal with braiding, I write down everything that I have due, every possible midterm, every possible final, everything's written out on the calendar. And from there, I'm like, okay, what day am I available to braid? And I have days that I do not braid at all. So for example, Sundays are my days off. I do not even if someone asks me, it's a no directly, and I know that. And then other days, if I can squeeze people in, if I can squeeze in one person, two people, it goes like that. And I think one quote that I really live by is cut your coat according to your size. If you can't do it, it's okay. Like you can't do everything. And that's just really how I've just been moving. But yeah, a calendar is really, really, really key.
This is a little off script, but I'm curious. How long does it typically take you? And I know client to client, but what's your average, I'd say, braiding time in that sense?
Okay, so I would say my average braiding time is 5 hours. So for one person, I'll sit down for 5 hours, we'll braid, and then, but it depends on the hairstyle, right? But like I said, average is 5 hours. It can go down to like 2 hours, it can go up to 7 hours, but average is 5 hours.
So monthly calendars are key.
Yeah.
Right, so next, Carmina. Sorry, I played myself. Carmina.
No worries. So I would say like similar. I'm also a very like visual person, and so having a calendar is great. But breaking down, having like a big goal and then breaking that down into smaller goals. Like I'll be like, okay, I want to do seasonal collections, so I know I want a collection coming out in spring. Let's say like an end of April, having a collection come out. And so I have that in my calendar, and then I work backwards, and I'm like, okay, if I want that collection out, I need to recruit models by this time, a photographer by this time, book a studio by this time, have the different seamstresses working on different things at these times, and, you know, the photo shoot organized. And so I often have like a big goal in mind, and then I break it down into what like Samina is saying, like little tasks that I'll have to do every single week, which I then put on my Google Calendar, or also I have a big physical calendar in my bedroom that I like to look at. Also, a not really great time management skill that I do is like, you know, if a class is going on and I'm not on video on Zoom, I'm like cutting fabric. I'm just hanging out, doing a little bit of things on the side. And so often it's like just doing kind of like mindless work too while I'm, you know, watching Netflix or whatever, is a great way as well that I squeeze in some extra time, because we are all busy, you know, we're all students. A lot of us also work, and then these are like the side hustle that are growing. And so definitely multitasking has been something I've been working on a lot.
Okay, and Samita.
All right. So actually, well, I really relate to what you all were saying. Like calendars are key, for sure. And for me personally, I really love making lists, and just that feeling of like crossing something out of my list is like, it's so empowering. So yeah, I make lists for like everything that I have to do. So for the business, for work, for what I have to do at home, and just like categorizing really helps me to like manage time, and helps me to deal with like constraints and deadlines. And also for the business, I've started using a social media post like a scheduler, and this is really good to like prepare posts in advance, and then you don't have to like worry about it for a whole week. And then I can take this time to test out things that I like to do more than social media. So like trying out new recipes, finding new ideas, making products, etc. So I would say lists are my number one time management skills.
Yeah, it's important. All right. So on to the next question. And so like around this year, like I remember last year, around this year, we were all living our best lives. It's like, it was like, you could go out, you could drink, you could sleep, you could do whatever, go to class, do whatever you need. But then out of nowhere, COVID just socked this uppercut. knocked us out of the game, switched up life. And so it's like, how has your business maintained operation during COVID-19? And like, what's the greatest challenges and some of the out of the box solutions that you have to come? And I remember the linguist mentioned, I'm going to start with you because you mentioned about like, well, now it's illegal for people to come over. And so how am I going to braid your hair? So curious to hear about that.
Awesome. Yeah. So like you said, last year, this time we were living our best lives. And funny enough, around this time last year, I had started maybe 2-3 months prior. So I wasn't really like, popping like that. Let me just put it like that. I mean, I was just really chilling, braiding. When COVID hit, I remember so well. We got an email from school saying we won't have class for like the week, like the rest of the week. Then it was like 2 weeks, and then it was like, we're done, like no more class, right? And I remember the first week, I was like, this is awesome. Like I can squeeze in so many appointments. I'm gonna make so much money. Like this is lit. And then it really hit me like, this is not a joke. This is like, we need a social distance. So I had to literally shut down everything. And with that, it meant that I couldn't make content because I wasn't braiding anyone. Like it was really like, I might as well have deleted my page, like on some real stuff. I might as well have deleted my page. But then midway, okay, my sister's a videographer, right? So I would see her still like make content here and there with her. Like she would have to get in front of the camera. And funny enough, Kamina said that before she thought that if you didn't show your face, it was like more professional. And that's what I thought as well. But when the pandemic hit, I realized like, listen, I'm just gonna have to start recording myself, braiding myself. And that's kind of what I did. And then at that time too, I was like, okay, what else can I do apart from braiding? So I started looking at des fournisseurs. I don't know how to say that in English. Like providers.
Yeah.
Yeah, providers for hair. So that's because I was like, okay, I can start selling hair. So I kind of went into that direction. So now I sell hair on top of braiding hair, and I sell hair growth oils and things like that. To really expand my business, I was thinking, okay, I can do hair braiding classes. It can be virtual classes, just different things. So I basically sat down and wrote down everything I can do apart from physically braiding hair. And that's kind of how I maneuvered around that whole situation.
Yeah. Well, that's very interesting. I'm glad to hear that it worked out. I guess the question is tailored to assuming that you were doing business before, but I guess with Samita, you said that you started in November. So how was it starting your business in this panoramic pandemic, whatever we call it now?
Well, actually, yeah, I started in November, and it was really thanks to the BIPOC pop-up that Kamina organized. So thank you for that. And actually, I saw this as an opportunity. I was having that idea for a while, and I just thought like, okay, this is the opportunity to just like launch it. And so I made everything happen, like the logos. I was making a lot of products and just like setting up my Instagram and Facebook page and everything. And I just like launched it, and it worked really well, especially because it was before Christmas, and people were looking for like local handmade gifts and kind of staying away from like Amazon and all these things. So for me, it was really an opportunity actually to start with COVID-19. And another thing that I found was really interesting is this organization that promotes small businesses in the Myland, and they're called Cercle Local. And so I had the possibility to associate myself with them, and they were actually offering bike deliveries. So I thought this was a really cool way for me to kind of stay aligned with my value, and also like think of other solutions to continue delivering products. So yeah, it was really cool to start with the BIPOC.
All right. See, when you make one action, other people make action. Kamina inspired you. So going into that, Kamina, how's it been?
Yeah. Similar to Berlingui, even though like head wraps you think is like sold mostly online, but when I first started, it was events. It was pop-ups and festivals, and we were out on the streets, where events there's thousands of people, and you're doing sales of hundreds in a short amount of time. To COVID times where it's like, all right, this is all online, we're e-commerce, and so it was like switching a lot of my energy to social media, switching a lot of my energy to the website and revamping the website. And then finding other ways, all the tips and tricks that e-commerce websites do, whether it's giveaways, where actually Willingly and I did a giveaway together not too long ago. yeah, other collaborations as well with more people, also followers on Instagram. We also got featured in CBC radio, so it was like finding some more PR and some other places to get more visibility. And as Mina was saying with BIPOC, it's funny that like, yeah, COVID kind of sprung, innovation came out of it, that I was realizing that a lot of young entrepreneurs were needing a platform to sell, especially people who were mostly based before in events and pop-ups. And so BIPOC is a series of online virtual pop-ups for Black, Indigenous, and POC entrepreneurs. And so actually the next edition is coming up in a month, but if you check bipoc.mtl on Instagram and on Facebook, you'll find more details. But yeah, so a whole new initiative actually came out of it. And Seth Beads is also there too in the first edition. So like all of you are amazing. And so yeah, I was just finding creative ways to still be able to sell and kind of create that culture around shopping local, even though, you're at home, especially in times like Sunita was saying, like for people, it was Black Friday and back in December and, in Christmas. And so it was like finding ways to change the way consumers approach business. That it's not just, here's my money and goodbye, but it's like, oh no, you can actually build relationships with these businesses. You can know more, local businesses tend more to local needs. And so my business is also focused on that, a lot of more collective making with people and just fun activities. I did also my first TikTok, so Bilingual, watch out. But yeah, just finding new ways to engage with people.
All right, thank you. Abology?
Yeah, I think pre-COVID, I had like 4 or 5 events lined up. I think I also have one with Kamina at CSU that didn't kind of go well, and then COVID happened, and I'm stuck at home with a bunch of products, and I have no social media platform. So like I had to start learning how to take out how to pose. I had to get a photographer and do some like photo shoots and start posting pictures. So yeah, basically, you have to go from in-person marketing and selling to actually now using social media to promote what you do. And believe me, it's a process. For me, it's not been easy. I'm not a very social media person. Like I'm not at all. But it's a process. It's an ongoing process. I'm learning. I'm growing, and yeah, it's about it. So just using social media is like my new form of working around COVID.
Well, granted, I'm sure our listeners feel the same way, but something that I love hearing right now is like kind of like that little overlap where it's like you guys aren't complete strangers, and like small businesses and kind of like collaborations and getting together an event, and it kind of gets into, well, you'll see where I'm going when I say the word community, in the sense where it's like seeing how people can inspire others, people can help each other and support each other. How do you go back to, no, how do you go about giving back to the community locally or internationally? And has the current social climate affected how you run your business in general? So I'm gonna go, it's a heavy question, I know, but I hate to do see that. Kamina, let's start us off.
No worries. It's a great question because I feel like most of our business probably it's really based on community. When I just first started the business, you'll see all the models. A lot of them you'll probably recognize as Concordia students, the photographer as well. So everyone that we hire for Urban Rapper is all part of Black, Indigenous, and POC community here in Montreal. So it's important for me that the brand also supports other creatives in the community. And then when it comes to our actual collaborations, like the first collaboration I was saying was with other Black women entrepreneurs. And since then, all other collaborations as well has been, supporting other businesses who are starting up, and that kind of like horizontal collaboration, like not always reaching towards, the Gucci's of the world and being like, oh, we need like a big collaboration like that. But it's like, no, there's other amazing young women who are doing great projects here. How can we support each other in growing our brands and growing our businesses? I can think of a few examples at the top too. I've often done partnerships with nonprofits. Black Girls Gather is an amazing kind of nonprofit that started quite recently last year. And so it's a book club for young Black women or young Black girls. And so they had reached out and said, hey, do you want to donate a wrap? We're doing like a raffle. And I was like, yeah, for sure. And did the giveaway. And then even a few months later, they ended up ordering like 50 masks because they were doing one of their first gatherings. And you realize the importance of like, a little thing of like, yeah, sure, I'll donate something. You never know where that will lead as well as a business. And now we're, have that kind of relationship between each other. And also I participated in a live auction with Grow Still, which is another nonprofit focusing on supporting kind of our age group. People, that often get kind of lost between supports for like young children and adults. And so Grow Still did a live auction with I think about 20 other businesses run by BIPOC entrepreneurs. And so that was a great way to donate an item, and we ended up raising money for 2 nonprofits here in Montreal, the West Island Community Center and the Native Shelter here in Montreal. And so I think that like through collaborations, you get visibility, but you also become part of the community, if I can say that. And so it's been a great way to build authentic relationships through the brand, that it's not just like, buying and selling, but building that. And then also the environmental aspect. Like when I first started, especially, but even so now, I bike off and I bike orders. They're close to me, and we connect with the person like, yeah, I'll be at this time. And so it's a great way to also meet customers and build that community, and they see the face behind the brand, and it's also more environmentally sustainable as well. And that's why all our packaging too is compostable and made of recycled materials. And so the goal is both on the environmental and the social aspect to have the least amount of negative impact and the most amount of positive impact.
Okay, thank you. Mina, Abology?
Yeah. If I get the question right, is how. Sorry, can you just repeat the question? I just want to make sure.
No problem. How do you give back to the local/international community, and has the current social climate affected how you run your business in general?
So about the first half of the question. So recently I worked with McGill University on doing, if I remember, we were doing like a fundraising for something. I can't remember what it was. So I think that's just the little, like I've not really been doing much as tech leads, but I'm also working with Action. So we kind of do a lot of how's your business with a lot of businesses, small businesses, to help people gain more momentum and all of that. I also did a few giveaways also with some other businesses. So I think the way I kind of been able to help my community is helping all the small business. So it's supporting each other, doing giveaways together, working with schools like McGill to kind of help them build momentum and also giveaways to small people that might need it. On the second question, the climate. I think we answered this question, unless I'm not getting the question well.
So I
yeah.
guess if I interpret the question in the sense of social climate, it can mean like, well, Black Lives Matter being at the forefront, or like, have you noticed, like, are people more maybe perceptive or being like, yeah, like they want to support more local businesses, or like if there's no effect, there's no effect. But do you think that the social climate in any way has affected how you run your business?
Personally, I don't think it's really affected me, but from the perspective of being a black business, I think the awareness of giving the small black businesses the chance to grow more, to get more known, and to gain more support. But personally, no, it hasn't really affected me in a way that I can speak about.
Okay, makes sense. Bilingue?
I'll actually start with the second half of the question, which is how has the climate affected how I run my business? So I would like to say that um, as soon as the COVID hit and then we had the whole Black Lives Matter movement, I feel like that really benefited a lot of Black-owned businesses here in Montreal, especially with the Facebook page of over 40,000 people on it. Me personally, I went from taking appointments in my DMs. I was just like, yeah, just DM me and I'll schedule you in, to having to have a whole booking website where people I have to drop the date on a specific time and everyone goes in and books. So I feel like that changed how my business is. My business grew a lot since the Black Lives Matter movement happened. And then how do I give back to my community? So like Amina said, I do a lot of giveaways. I've done one with her. I've done with other Montreal Braves. And I feel like because people always need their hair braided, doing giveaways to have people get their hair braided for free is always nice. And people always appreciate it because it's like, why not get my hair braided for free if I can? So that's pretty much how I do it now. But I plan on expanding it and growing a lot bigger in the future. But for now, that's what I do.
Okay. Sumita?
Yeah, so in terms of the local community, I really believe that building a network of local businesses can help to find creative solutions. And I think all of all of us are doing it here, like making giveaways and partnerships and things like that. So I really think that this is important to give back to the community. And also, whenever I can, I try to look for like local providers and suppliers for my products and for the ingredients. So all of it is purchased from here in Montreal. But I'm currently trying to like have partnerships with local producers in Uganda or in East Africa for key ingredients in my products like shea butter and cocoa butter. And I think that doing that, it will really help to like correspond with my values and also like set a standard of quality for the products. And as for the current social climate, I realized that supporting BIPOC local businesses is more important now than any time before, and really like creating a network of local businesses is the best way to like create partnerships and help to grow. So I would say this is how it has impacted my business.
Okay, okay. So, in the sense of like now talking about the community, the social climates, and it's like you guys have all, in some way, whether it was at 4 a.m. On a school night or just at a seed event, it's like you guys have started. And it's like Drake once said, you started from the bottom and now you're here and you're looking at the top, trying to keep on going and excelling. But there's some of us and others of us who may be at the summit. I'm like, no, wait, the summit? I'm running out of metaphors. Like, I can't remember if the summit is the base of them or at the top. I feel like I hope it's the bottom for metaphor things, but people are just at the beginning stages or they just need that little push. So in that vein, what tips would you have for those watching who have a potential interest in starting their own business, given the current situation? So any skills, any lessons, anything that you can share to, whether it be our audience here or on the YouTube channel, or just student, like people in general that you have with starting their venture on becoming a small business owner or a business owner in general. So I'm going to start with, well, you're on screen already, so Samita, jump in there.
All right. So, like, one thing I would say is that push that someone gave me also, and it's actually so simple. Just do it. Just start. If you have an idea, if you have something that you've been meaning to try for a long time, just do it. Because there's nothing more empowering than to see your idea or your passion come to life and become a reality. And actually, Montreal is a very entrepreneurial city, and there are so many resources and organizations that can help you launch your idea, build your business plan, coach you, etc. So even the CSU Legal Clinic mentioned them, like Yes Montreal. They're really active for that, and I've actually taken some workshops with them, and it was really useful. Just to know more about marketing, which is something I'd like to improve. Uh, like marketing and social media is not really my thing, so I'm really trying to build on that. But also, like, you never stop learning when you have your business, and we also said it, like, you learn as you go, and different skills also, like photography, marketing, making the products, making it aesthetic. So yeah, I would say just try it, and you'll see how it goes, and then you can only go upwards from there.
Okay, okay. Let's see. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. It's funny because now that I realize all your initials spell ABC. ABC, 1, 2, 3, you and me. So, it's been a day. Okay,
Yeah.
so Abology, would you like to give your tips?
Yeah, I agree with Samita. Like, you just have to start. Like, one thing you learn as you go is it's a process. It's a learning curve. Like, even if you have the best, most planned idea, you can't foresee what's to come. So it's kind of like you learn as you go. You're gonna get obstacles like COVID that hits you, and you have to learn how to use a camera or how to take pictures, how to use social media. But you just have to be. I think the biggest thing is you have to be willing to learn and grow. You cannot come in with a stock mindset, with a specific mindset. It would not work out. You get derailed or you get angry that it's not working the way you want. You just have to be willing to go a little bit with the flow and just learn as you go, grow as your business grows also, and be able to see into the future, like see bigger things for yourself. And that's like my advice.
Okay, thank you. Well received. Okay, bilingue.
Nice. I definitely agree with Samita and Abolaji. Like, just start. That's a big one. But for me, I'm saying this only because I didn't do it. Okay, and it's because, like I said, I started my page at 4 in the morning. But if you can, try planning. Just like map out, like, what is my purpose? Like, why am I doing this? Right. For me personally, I can tell you right now, you make money from braiding, but I'm not braiding because of the money. If I was braiding because of the money, I would have stopped braiding the second week I started, because it's a lot of patience, a lot of time. So if you're going to do a business just for the sole purpose of making money, it's honestly, it's hard. There are hours that when I feel like, and I've read a lot of quotes that say like owning a business is almost harder than doing a 9 to 5, because 9 to 5 is literally 9 to 5 and you clock out, right? Owning a business before, like, you're sleeping trying to make things to post on Instagram, like you're constantly working. So if you're in it just for the money, scrap it. Like, rethink why you're doing it. So just have a plan why you're doing it, what you want to do, what are the different things you can branch out to, and I think that would really help you grow faster, I would say, and like with a more purpose.
Okay. Beautifully said. Kamina.
Yeah, so kind of building on what Belingu was saying is that for me, it's like why you're doing this is have kind of that thing you go to or remind yourself why you're doing this along that process, you know? Especially in the beginning, I had so much momentum, so much excitement in these big festivals, and it was like these big milestones and everything felt like it was moving so quickly. And then COVID, being sick, wanting to see family, taking a break, school, other things happen in life. And you kind of hit those lows where you're like, oh, do I really want to be doing this? Like, oh, something didn't work out, you know, a partnership didn't fall through or whatever it is. And to have those reminders of why you're doing this. And for me, it's often little comments that people share in like DMs, like, oh, I love this product. Like, I just go out the door now and I feel ready and I feel like ready to confront the world. And it's just like, okay, yeah, this is why I'm doing this. It's not just like to post and then log off of Instagram. Like, these are real people who are connecting with this product and who love it and who are sharing in this kind of art form together. And so it's having those things reminding you along the way of like why you're doing this and what's your goal that you're aiming towards in itself, and also being kind with yourself that whole process, especially if you're, you know, a young entrepreneur that's also doing a million other things. It's really easy to compare yourself to people who can dedicate their full work hours to it, or who have already, you know, you don't know what people have gone through to get to where they are. And it's really easy, like especially my Instagram feed, it's only other businesses that I follow. And sometimes just scrolling, you're like, oh my gosh, like they did this, how did they do it? And sometimes you just need to either unplug or, you know, talk to, you know, often even Samina and I are talking about like, oh yeah, it's crazy. Like I need a break, or what are your ideas for this? It's like having that support network, but also just being your own support and knowing when you just need a mental health checkout from your business, or reorient like your energy in something else, you know, if a collection or something is stressing you out, what can you do that's more, you know, building the backbone of your business, or a new partnership that'll be exciting, and finding those little things that, you know, inspire you and motivate you to keep growing your business, so it doesn't become like something you're like clocking in, clocking out, and kind of dreading doing. Because I know even for myself personally, I've gotten to that point with Urban Wrapper sometimes where like things were just so difficult with COVID to get fabric and to hire new seamstresses. And it's easy to get discouraged sometimes, but you have to remember, like, you know, there was those high moments and there'll be those low moments. And it's that whole journey that'll make it like, oh my gosh, started from the bottom, now we here for real. so definitely that was. And also, yeah, like Samina was saying too, there's so many amazing resources in Montreal. Even myself, I'm like, I don't know why I haven't used them more. Like, you are not alone, whether it's just horizontal networking and other people who have started businesses that you can collaborate with, or actual organizations that have resources. Like the Yes Center is a great one. Also, even like D3 at Concordia for entrepreneurship, or Future Ready. Future Ready has a bunch of amazing workshops, especially in entrepreneurship. And I know they're expanding more in entrepreneurship this year. So they're like free workshops for Concordia students and community at large, I think, too. So not being afraid of asking for help when you need help, or looking for the resources that are here in Montreal.
Yeah, no, that mental health note is very important. As well, I feel like Bilingue wants to add something.
Yeah, I just want to add something. Also, one last thing: try and be as authentic as possible, and just like do you. Don't try copying anyone else. Don't try like mimicking someone else's business, because if you do, you're gonna stay like trying to fall. How do I say this? Like, if your business is built on copying someone else's stuff, like there's difference between inspiration and copying, right? If your business is built off of copying someone else's business, you're gonna stay waiting for them to do something before you do it. So like just try and do you, like, because everyone is creative in their own way, even if some people don't believe they are. You guys, everyone is creative in their own way. So just do you and you'll grow. Yeah.
No braids by Kamina. No braids by Lingua is going to come for you if she sees that. But no, with all jokes aside, it's like I hope everyone's taking like key takeaways from the workshop in the sense that, like, as Lingua said, like scheduling Sundays, those are her days, the day of the Lord's and her day where it's like she doesn't touch anybody's hair unless it's hers, or maybe not even hers. Strict with it. Like, it's creating those boundaries and letting yourself, because when you make that foundation, as you build, it makes sure that the structure doesn't collapse when you go through those hard times and those different things. But yeah, so I've had 7 interesting questions here, and I could probably ask 15 more, but I think we have some audience members who are probably sitting here being like, this is your time to shine. Do you have any questions for the panelists, specific or general? Speak now or prepare for my next 2 questions. So you can just raise your hand or put it in the chat, like anybody who would like to ask any questions. Going once, going twice, and raised hand, we got one.
Sorry, I was looking for the raised hand thing, and so I couldn't find it. But anyways, my name's Irfan. I'm one of the student volunteers. I'm a student at McGill Law, and I work for Walter, actually. So one of my questions is, as entrepreneurs in Quebec from a racial minority, how has the role of French sort of hindered or whatnot your progress? Because we're talking, we have a premier who doesn't believe that systemic racism exists in Quebec, so I just want to talk about the elephant in the room and just say, how's that going? So.
Okay, so does anyone want to speak first on this, or do I keep on randomizing it? All right, Bilingue, you get to say.
Go ahead. I can only speak for myself. Luckily, I do speak French, so I'm able to like do the both. Like if I can post in both French and English. And I have clients, I can speak to them in English or French. So I definitely do have that advantage. But for people who don't, definitely, I'm sure you have at least one friend that can speak French that you can ask for help from. But definitely try your best to incorporate French and English into your business, because we do live in Quebec and in Canada, which is a bilingual country. So that's kind of what I have to say about that. I don't know that's much, but yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm also lucky that I'm bilingual, even though the majority of the business, even when I was coming up with the name, I was like, urban rapper. Will people who are only French speaking be like, what is she talking about? So there's definitely little things you think of in your business. And it's like a fact, like if you're translating all your posts and like your website and everything is a lot of work that even I haven't even started. And so it does limit your access to what communities you can sell to. Although like luckily I've been quite young, targeting quite a young community, and so a lot of them are bilingual, but there definitely is like a lot of obstacles if you don't speak French. Like most of my partnerships with stores, all of our conversations and everything have been in French because they're just local stores that sell local products. And so I definitely think that the language barrier can be something, but it's also just, there is a large and very vibrant entrepreneurial community in English speaking Montreal. And so it's also finding those resources and finding those other businesses and the pop-ups and everything, and or building, having partners who can come on with you and fill in the gaps of things you don't know. It doesn't have to just be language, but it can be social media help or finances or whatever it is. If you're bringing on other people, as for just the I guess the social climate and everything with Logo and everything, I think at first I kind of saw it as maybe a threat or kind of like, oh, it's gonna be hard. But I think like you realize even through BIPOC, it's like you have the power to create those own spaces, by creating different initiatives and spaces for other Black entrepreneurs. You realize there's an incredible community out there. Like already these panelists, I knew like most of them, well, all of them actually. And anytime I go to like another pop-up, or, there's MTL Market, who does amazing Black pop-ups in Montreal, you realize there's an incredible community out there. And so even though maybe the mainstream or dominant culture around you has so many different obstacles, whether it be like financial or social or whatever it is, it's about what community is there. Also, there's also a community there that's ready and willing to take you and support you. And even for going back to French, I've had people reach out just from the community members in general, being like, hey, we'll help you translate your website in French for BIPOC. Like, we think that it's something that could really grow if it was in French as well. And so there are people out there who are willing to support you and who want to see you thrive in Montreal. So
Nice. Samita, would you like to add on?
Yeah, well, I'm really lucky that I'm also bilingual, so that really helped out. But just like for finding my name, the name of my business, it took me a really long time, because I was looking for something that was either in French or English, so that I didn't have these issues also with like incorporating or like making the business official. But yeah, I'm really glad that this name, I found this name finally. But all this to say that I found there's so many businesses in Montreal that got closed because they didn't respect some norms of the Office de la Langue Française, or like some other things like that. And I think it's a bit exaggerated, even if like we are in Quebec, and I do think that things should be bilingual. So I do try to make the effort, even with like the names of my product or like posts and things like that. I really try to make it bilingual. But for people who don't have that accessibility, like Kamina said, there's a lot of people who want to try to help you and also like yeah, support you in making that transition to make the business more accessible also. So yeah, it's not always easy, but there are solutions for it for sure.
Okay. And last but not least, the Balaji.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go based on what Samita was talking about. I think in the generation that we live in, it's easier to find a way to fill in the gap of what you might or might not know. Like even though if you don't speak French, it's easier to just throw it out on all the platforms that you have and find someone that might be able to help you. You just have to be willing to put yourself out there. Like I think one of the easiest things that I sometimes do is just put it out there. Like, can somebody help me with this? Does somebody know how to do this? I think LinkedIn is like one of the biggest space where you do that, and the people looking to gain experience in filling that gap that you don't have. So use the social media to your advantage to help you grow. You'll most likely find someone.
Okay, thank you. So looking into the chat, a question by Anne-Marie St. Louis. As women, do you face any challenges in running a business?
jump. Oh.
So you're on the screen. What's it called? You're on the screen, Abology. So do you have any insight to this one?
I mean, for me, just personally, so far, I've not had any problems with me owning a business as a woman. So I don't know about others, but I don't think I've not met someone bold enough to come out right. You shouldn't own a business. So I don't know. Guys, what do you think?
There's hope for humanity then. Does anybody else have any experience or anything to add to the question, or is it more so you haven't experienced it?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think we're all, I don't want to say lucky, but we're all kind of working in sectors that are female dominated. And so we might not experience what women in a more male dominated sector would have to go through and would have to kind of compete with, and that energy that comes with that. And so like that's been really great in terms of like most of my community, my followers are other Black women. And so it's really is like there's already this understanding that we're all starting off of. But I do think that like anytime I expand outside, I've often had, people offer collaborations or offer to buy things, and they're trying to slide in the DMs a different type of way, and it's kind of in the guise of a business venture, and that's happened quite a few times. And I think that like as women, like we're kind of used to that. Like sometimes you don't know if people just want from you, you know, more than what they're saying. Oh yeah, I'll just buy a head wrap and I'll meet you for, you know, downtown for a drink. It's like, okay, this is no longer like a business partnership. And so for me, that's been a thing to deal with. Like, you know, once in a while it happened with a photographer, happened with people who are buying products who think that they are entitled to you and your time just because they're supporting your business. And I think it's just about, you know, having your boundaries, respecting your boundaries, and being able to say no. If you know that the person's kind of looking for something more, even though you're interested in selling, you know, 5-10 head wraps, it's like, it's not worth your energy or your safety or anything. And so for me, I think that's like the clearest thing that I've had to deal with as a business owner.
Just to bounce off what Kamina said, it's funny because I said I not recently, but I stopped doing men's hair. And no shade to men or anything, but one thing that I like struggled with was I would braid their hair and then like they would later text me and I'd be like, no, like this isn't what it is. This is strictly like I do your hair and then we move. Like that's all that it is. So I think that was one of the biggest reasons why I stopped doing men's hair. So I think like as a woman, when you own a business, just know how to draw your lines and like, okay, this I'm not willing to accept this. I'm not willing to tolerate this. So I'm just gonna scratch this, or I am willing to tolerate this, and then we move. So just kind of figure out what works best for you.
Anything to add, Samita, or?
Yeah, just that I've also been really lucky that the field that, well, the products that I'm selling are mostly catered to women. I'm trying to like make things that work for men and women, like shampoos and things like that. But I haven't faced any like specific issues. But I'd say like trying to expand also the business to cater for both is something that I'd really like to do. But hopefully it won't bring on any other challenges for security or some other things you were talking about, Kamina, and bilingual. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so just gonna quickly add, I think because I also, apart from being Sebi, I run a painting business. And I think like so far, I think if you sound like you know what you're talking about, like if you're confident in yourself, people are not very open to saying you don't know what you're doing. Because like if you stuttering and don't know what you're talking about, then it gives them the space or the chance to, you know, kind of want to take over and act like they know stuff. But once you're confident in yourself and you're confident in what you know, it's harder for people to come in and start playing the I'm the man, I know more about it than you do. So I think the biggest thing is confidence, like also knowing what you do, being able to explain what you do, you know, to other people. I think that's like a very good way to fix that.
So you're wise. I feel like a woman once said, know your worth and add the tax. So I'm just like, yeah, it is what it is. But another question from the chat is, have you been able to get any government funding, subsidies, or like business loans or grants or anything? That's unfortunate.
Yeah, I was gonna say, not even started to apply. Even my father's like, go out there. There's so many grants, especially now. You know, Trudeau was like, felt like throwing money and like just the amount of time it takes. I think all of us are doing wearing so many hats, so many head wraps. That is like having the time to find those resources and everything. I know I've reached out a little bit to D3 and they have a great kind of like funding list that young entrepreneurs can go to. But you know, also looking for money takes time, which is money as well. And I think a lot of us are at the initial stages of growing our business. And so for me, it's been important to like have a strong foundation before asking for more capital to be able to expand it. But I'm getting to that point now. Even recently, I hired 2 seamstresses, which Lori is actually here, and Adele, and they're 2 amazing seamstresses. And so it's like, now that that's growing, definitely looking for external funding is going to be one of the next moves, but as of now, not yet.
Okay. Is everyone in the same boat, or does somebody have something to add on that?
I'm a bit different. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but me personally, I'm not Canadian. I'm not a Canadian citizen. So for me, not even like talking about business grants from the government and from banks, but just like simple school scholarships, it's a little bit harder for me to get them because a lot of the times when I go to apply, it's like the first thing is you have to be a Canadian citizen or you have to be a Canadian resident. So that's one of the limiting factors for me personally. Hopefully that'll change if I do get Canadian citizenship. But for now, that's kind of one of the things that's been blocking me.
Okay, and then the last question from the chat before I throw one in there is, oh, actually, no, there's two, but okay. So, putting you on the spot, what is time and whatnot, but where do you guys see yourselves in 5 years with the business? Is this more so something like I heard Kamina mentioning that like you're expanding, you're hiring employees, and now it's but yeah, so where do you guys see yourself within the next 5 years as a business owner? And Berlingue, you're on the screen, so let's get in there.
So like I said earlier, I feel like school is my number one priority. However, my goal is to kind of merge what I study with my business.
What do you study?
So I mean, currently I study biology, but it's my last semester, and I'm planning on going on into public health. And I did an internship 2 summers ago, and it was in the maternal and newborn section. And one of the biggest issues that mothers face is they don't have enough funding. And I know, based on a lot of braiders that I follow in the United States and Canada and myself, like braiding brings in a lot of income. And so my goal in the next 5 years is to be able to get mothers in Montreal and hopefully go back to the motherland, and teach them how to braid and basically make themselves self-sufficient to be able to feed their families, feed their babies, and kind of, pay their bills and be independent women. So yeah, that's where I kind of see myself in the next 5 years.
Okay, nice. Samika.
Well, I would say I haven't really thought about the next 5 years since I just started, and for me, it's like really a dream that's coming true to just like do something that I love and pursue this passion. So for now, I'm also like working at the same time, so I kind of put most of my time in the work, and this Ayata Botanics is more like a side hustle thing. So I would say like I love having this on the side, and also during COVID-19, it really helps keep me busy, which I really appreciate. But I don't have any like big expansion plans for the next 5 years. I think just having like people that reorder and that like the products and they just like share their testimonials and things like that would be really I would really appreciate that already, but I would not have like big expansion plans for the next 5 years. No.
Slow and steady wins the race. Herbology.
For me, my big time goal is to create a virtual shopping platform. So instead of going into actual stores to try on your clothes, I want to create that online. So where you create avatars that look like you and you dress yourself without having to go to the store and try and clothes. So I want to create a platform where all different jewelries and fashion businesses have their products on that website or that site. And as buyers, you can try it on. So I want to try and reduce our footprint of all the boxes and all the shopping things that we keep buying and throwing into the garbage and recycling. So I'm trying to reduce that by creating a virtual platform for that.
Okay. Visionary. And Kamina.
Yeah, so specifically tied to like the products itself is definitely expanding the lines, having more frequent launches for new collections, and just growing the business in itself, hiring more people to support in production and in marketing. But outside of like I guess the products itself is really focusing on that community aspect. Like I think of like Curl Fest and all those big festivals, especially down in the US that they have and in New York. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we need something like this here in Montreal where it's really focused on, kinky curly hair and, self-care. And I think like the community and Urban Rapper being mostly, majority Black women, it's like, okay, now Black women are so many things, they're entrepreneurs and they're moms and they're students, and how can we give those Black women other tools? And I think that like hair is a great way to build community. And so I think Urban Rapper is kind of like a platform to spring off to create other events, like how BIPOC got created. I realized as a business myself, an Urban Rapper, I needed, more pop-ups. And so BIPOC, the UIUC got created. And so I think that Urban Rapper is, for me right now, kind of this test to see what is it like as an entrepreneur, what do entrepreneurs go through when they're starting up, what are other Black women like we have on this panel going through when they're starting a business, what are the challenges and the opportunities, and using that information and that knowledge to keep building that community and support, that community. in the long run. So that's, yeah, definitely in 5 years is like more events, more community focused, more skill building, larger collections, of course.
Okay. So one last question from myself, and then like we're gonna get into closings, and like I'll give everyone a chance to kind of like maybe say what the next steps for you guys are. But like as like we've talked about a variety of different things, and like being at the bottom of the mountain, getting to the top, midway, passionate, and all that. So as you are right now, what is the biggest obstacle like right now? It's like instead of looking 5 years, but like right now where you are, what's the biggest obstacle that you're trying to overcome now, whether it's like between COVID, whether it's like staying innovation, new product lines? So what are you currently facing? What's an issue that you're currently facing and trying to find a way to overcome? And Kamina, you're on the screen, so I'm gonna just go to you.
Yeah, for me, it's actually been a question of keeping up with demand. Like I keep, like even just a few days ago, I was like, hey, any of the seamstresses out here trying to work. And so it's been focusing on like production and also just time. Like, you know, I'm also running for student council and have a part-time job and school and BIPOC. And so it's been figuring out, you know, what is actually my plan for Urban Rapper? If I need more time to it, what are the sacrifices? What are the things that I'm going to have to put on hold? Wait, can you repeat the question for a second, just to make sure I'm hitting it?
So yeah, what's your current obstacle? And you're saying it. So what are you trying to overcome?
Time, not enough time, which I think every single entrepreneur can connect with that. And it's interesting because I feel like for me right now, I've gone through 2 years, which was kind of slowly building of it. I went through a training with D3 and they were talking about that kind of like curve that entrepreneurs go through. And so now I'm reaching that plateau where if I don't invest more capital and have more employees, then the business is going to stay where it is. And so it's breaking through that plateau and expanding all while my time isn't maybe really growing. And so, you know, that whole work smarter, not harder is what we're trying to flex right now.
All right, thank you, Kamina. Avology.
I think for me, the biggest thing is trying to bring my ideas to life because they're kind of bigger than what I have knowledge and how to do. Because most of the things I want to do require IT and computer design. And I'm like, I'm a science student. I don't know how to do those things. I have the ideas. I'm trying to find, you know, people that are like-minded, understand what I'm trying to do. So I'm not just trying to find employees, I'm trying to find team members, you know, people with partnerships. That's what I'm trying to build. I think that's like my biggest struggle right now.
Okay, Samita.
Yes, I would say right now, the biggest challenge for me is really to make things legit. Because I am starting out and the products that I'm making, I mostly sell like in my circle. And if I want to expand and start selling in local stores and things like that, I really have to make things legit and register the business with Santé Canada to have all the ingredients and all that, because the cosmetic business is very strict on rules, how you produce your things, the hygiene, things like that. So I would say this is my biggest issue because some of the regulations are very, very strict, like having a separate room to make your products and like listing all the percentages and like different things like that. And I'm not there yet. So I would say if I really want to take things to the next level, it would be to know more about these restrictions and know more about the things I have to do to start selling in stores and to make things legit. Because right now, like Kamina said, it kind of reached a plateau. So I have to like invest more time and more capital to have all the things that would make it grow more. So I would say that's my biggest challenge.
And then Bilingue.
I think for me, seeing as I'm about to graduate at the end of this semester, it's kind of about like planning how am I gonna do the transition, and how I think being a non-Canadian citizen is one of my biggest things as well. Like how can I go full force with this, but then also work on, you know, becoming a Canadian citizen, all these different things. So that's kind of like my obstacles right now and trying to figure out how to go about all these things.
No, it's not easy. I lied. I'm sorry. I'm not perfect. I saw one interesting question in the chat that popped up that I think is directed to apology. So I'm just going to sneak this in here before we get into closing statements. But so it was when forming partnerships, what character traits do you look for? Or because you mentioned that you wanted like-minded people. So like what traits are you looking for? Or maybe who knows, your partner might be in this Zoom room.
That would be nice. I'm looking for someone willing to work as hard as I am on the business. Like someone that understands. I think once you understand the vision and you appreciate the vision, then it's a stepping stone. So someone looking to grow. I'm not looking for a perfect person. I'm looking for somebody willing to grow and willing to put in the work and learn with me as I go. And understand that it's not a race, it's a marathon. It takes time. We just have to put in the work and grow.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I hope that answers your question, Genevieve, who was the one submitted. So as we reach the end, so what I'm gonna do is, Walter, I feel like you've been sitting here quietly and like they've said some amazing things and you'll have some resources that might help them. So I think if you could maybe just take a few minutes to mention some of the resources or like what the LIC could help our panelists and anybody in this room. And then I'm gonna allow each of you to kind of like give like 1 minute outro, out like a light, slept through the flight, not for the night. So Walter.
Yeah, I'm just going to go back to the fact that, look, the Legal Information Clinic, you have any questions about business startups, just come to us, okay? Particularly because, number one, okay, I'm a lawyer with 30 years of experience, which I think we're the only legal information clinic in Quebec that has a supervising lawyer on staff. Thanks to the CSU, by the way. And of that 30 years, much of it has been involved with, as I said, entrepreneurship. I'm very familiar with entrepreneurship and startups and stuff like that. And some of you have already been able to access some of the resources. Fantastic. But it never hurts to have more information. And if there's any way that we can help, whether it be questions of even, for example, financing for banks, the first thing they'll want is a personal guarantee or loan. So before you sign that contract, please come to us. Or for those that are thinking of renting space, once again, for an entrepreneur, that's the number one financial hardship of paying that rent. Once again, come see us. So any questions, come see us, and we're free. You already paid through our services through the CSU.
Okay, thank you, Walter. And I hope everyone took note of that. We're here for you. And so let's go with Samita. Closing statement, upcoming events, anything that you would like to say to those watching at home with us right now?
Yeah, well, first of all, really thank you for this event. I thought it was really inspiring to see women, Black entrepreneurs that that started from the beginning and that went to the top, just to use your metaphor, Isaiah. And I got inspired also by watching like-minded people starting from the beginning. And so I hope this also allowed people who were interested to start to just kind of go into it and start and do what they love. So thank you so much for putting this together. And also it's been really great since I've started, and the support that I've had from my friends and family and just people around me. So I'm really excited for the next steps. And thank you so much.
No problem. Bilingue?
Awesome. So once again, thank you guys for inviting me to this panel. My name is Bilingue. I am a Montreal-based hairdresser and I sell products such as hair growth oils or braiding extensions if you're looking for any. So you can follow me on my socials. It's literally just by Bilingue. My name is written right there on the screen. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Abology.
Yeah, so I'll go off on bilingual style and just start. My name is Abology. You can follow me at Seth Beats, so SEPHBADS. If you're looking for any form of partnerships, I'm looking for partners that would help me grow my business. I'm looking for ideas. So if you have anything, you can also DM me or send me a message. I'm always open to hear and to help anyone that's starting a business and needs advice or a push. And as we said in the beginning, if you have an idea, just start. That's like the first thing. You just start and you go from there. You have trials, you have tribulations, but you just have to push through, learn as you go, read some books, speak to some people, and I think you'll do great once you just get started.
Remember, men, business inquiries only in the DMs. Okay. And last but not least, Kamina.
Great. So yeah, I'll just go with the plugs for the socials as well. As Bling was saying, our name's right on the screen, but it's Urban Rapper with a W on Instagram and Facebook, and urbanrapper.ca for the website. Also inviting you to check out BIPOC, so BUYPOC.mtl on Instagram if you're a Black-owned business owner, since we'll be doing another edition coming up in April. And also check out Action Concordia. They're doing a great series, interviewing Black business owners, and so kind of like this style, but more intimate and candid. So that's also a great series going on. And watch out for the new collection drop happening end of April. So yeah.
Okay. All right. So thank you to the campaigns department, and thank you to the panelists and all of you for giving us your time today. I have 1 minute to spare before the event officially ends. So yeah, so be sure if you're a Concordia student to go and vote in the upcoming elections. You might recognize a few names or faces. And yeah, it's important, and so that we can continue to do amazing events like this and shine light on various different issues and whatnot. So thank you for your time, and I hope you have a rest of a happy Thursday or a Friday Eve, as it's pleasantly known. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you for having us, Isaiah and CSU.
Yes, thank you. Great job.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Thanks so much, guys. Have a good evening.
All right. Bye, everyone.